In the meantime, some amazing new video from NASA this week. It comes at a crucial time in the organization's history. You may have already seen these incredible pictures. Look at this. This is the Earth at night, illuminated by city lights across the planet. But there's this new report out that's questioning whether NASA can maintain its leadership role in space exploration. Let me bring in NBC News space analyst and former space shuttle engineer, James Oberg. It's been a while. Good to see you, James.
Hello, Chris.
The report by the National Research Council essentially says that NASA's at a crossroads and also says they have an uncertain future. The problem obviously coming down to money. Federal funding is flat. Getting more money from Congress seems unlikely. What's your reaction to this report?
Well, Chris, looking at this report and the comments made in it, I'm almost thrown back to the space race days. It's almost a report of nostalgia for back in the space race, when we had a two-way race to a known goal and we could design our vehicles just for that goal. That was a tightly focused program. So when you look at NASA's program today, it's not nearly as tightly focused. I think that's a good thing, though, because we've gotten to a broader area of capabilities. So when they refer to some problems they see at NASA, to me, those are problems of not aging, but of maturing of the space program.
As you know, this is a time when we're in a big fight over money and who's going to get money for what. And we just saw some ads, about whether senior citizens are going to be able to pay for their glasses and their medication. What are the options for NASA to make itself relevant amid this fierce fight over funding that we're seeing in Washington?
A lot of the things NASA is doing isn't as visible as it used to be either. So people have the impression nothing is going on. The problem in having a more diffuse set of goals, though, is that it is harder to keep the team focused and the political will focused on it. And that does seem to require some more care and feeding. But in terms of the technology, developing capabilities to send people beyond low Earth orbit into deep space on a fairly permanent basis, on long expeditions, and having the rockets able to do that are the key to doing that. And that is in the program that is now being worked on. It's just perhaps could be faster with more money, but it is still progressing.
Well, there are these ambitious goals that NASA has, these talks about, for example, going to Mars. Having said that, at the same time, we were hearing today about this Colorado-based company. They just said yesterday that they plan to send privately funded and built spacecraft to the moon by 2020. They say 15 to 20 nations are interested in those missions and that they cost, I think, $1.5 billion, much cheaper than NASA can do them for. So is that also part of the future of NASA as you see it, sort of alongside these private companies?
As space technology advances, Chris, the things that we did 5, 10, 20 years ago do become cheaper because the technology is better, the metals, the energy, all the construction designs are better, so that you can do these kind of things that once cost $26 billion in those kind of dollars for Apollo. You can do it for less dollars now. But if you keep the dollars going for new technologies, things that are harder to do, things we couldn't do in the 60s or 70s or 80s, that the space station is making us now able to do, and build some of these new boosters, then you will do what NASA perhaps was always intended to do, is go beyond, go to the edge and go beyond the edge, and create such a base of technology that someone else can come by and do space taxis to orbit and even space taxis to the moon and do private commercial access for many countries. That is a sign of the success of NASA's technology in the past, and it's a sign of what it should be doing in the future, which is keep pushing new technologies, keep the funding high enough to keep the right kind of people working there.
Well, that's the key, isn't it, Jim? I mean, it was kind of a cool thing. I mean, when you got into space engineering, and if you told somebody you worked at NASA, or for heaven's sake, if you were an astronaut, it was, like one of the really cool jobs. Is part of the problem now that, maybe NASA and space travel isn't so cool anymore? How do you attract the best and the brightest to keep moving forward?
That's a problem around the world. The U.S. does not have that problem. The best and brightest still want to come, to a large degree, come work on the space program, either for NASA or for private companies. There are some tremendously bright teams, non-NASA teams, working on space access. Other countries have a more serious problem. I see in Russia, for example, they can't get people to come to work in the space program. They can't even get people to apply to be cosmonauts. So in terms of where we're heading and we're compared to other countries, we need to stay on a direction. We need to have resolve to keep political support behind it, and remind the public once in a while that we are moving toward new new goals, as you see with the pictures you showed.
Yeah, those pictures are pretty awesome. Well, James Oberg, it's always good to see you. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Chris.
That wraps up this hour of Jansing and Company. I'm Chris Jansing. Richard Louie, filling in for Thomas Roberts, is up next.